Hey there, this is Ann O'Brien. I am here with you to speak about what is the difference between the art of love and manipulation. So, if you may know me, I am the author of 2 books, A Woman's Guide to Conscious Love, Navigating the Play of Feminine and Masculine Energy in Your Relationships, as well as Everyone is Psychic. And I believe in having a dynamic, thriving life. A big part of my work is recognizing that we are spiritual beings. We're more than these bodies. And yet it's not about just going up there to be spiritual. It's about bringing that all into these bodies and to live a really dynamic, thriving life. So as you may imagine, one of the top things people come to me for help with are their romantic relationships. I work with people on all types of questions, whether it's career, health, home, money, etc. But relationships tend to be the biggest arena where people get stuck. And I particularly see a lot of women asking me about their relationships with men. So I have a special interest in really understanding the masculine, feminine, energetic dynamics and how do we honor both of these energies and how do we honor and learn to love each other in a way that doesn't shut each other down. Okay, so we've all struggled being in a society that's based in manipulation. We have a society where most people are coming from their own egos, and we all do, and we need some ego, right? But we're having an epidemic of narcissism, or a lot of conversations about this, and there's a lot of what's in it for me, and a lot of even historically, just conditional relationships, need-based, survival-based relationships have been the norm historically. So that could be I give you sex, you give me money. That could be I give you status and you give me security. If it's getting beyond the just transactional into some worse and more toxic dynamics, this could look like you tend to punish, I believe I deserve it, or I like control and you subconsciously want somebody to make your decisions for you. So I see that all the time. Many of these things in people I know, in clients, and I've certainly had my share of it. So I love helping people get out of it because it's not working. So whether these are overly toxic, greedy dynamics, whether they're just based in transactions, trying to fulfill the shoulds that we think we need to fulfill in society or to please our families, etc. I think many of us are wanting more. And we realize this is the way it's been done is a dead zone for the soul. So in order to fix it, I'm also seeing this trend, which I don't think is fixing it. And that is the trend of neutralizing gender. I even read a study, this may be another topic, but I read a study that sex is down. This isn't all about sex, but there's this sacredness of divine union that's possible that's been lost in this culture where either people are disposable or where many people feel empty inside and we're like robots looking at the screen and having these very neutral reactions. Many of the interactions we have are virtual, and in some ways, maybe it seems like this is more evolved, and in other ways, I think we're more and more disconnected than ever from nature and from our aliveness. So it might seem like it's an improvement from this toxic feminine masculine game playing that many of us are used to. It might seem like an improvement from the traditional roles, but it seems to me like it's not the solution, and in some ways it's a reaction. So we're all wounded. I don't think disconnecting from nature or neutralizing everything is the answer. So in my first book, A Woman's Guide to Conscious Love, I do go into healthy masculine and feminine energies and what they are. I also describe in detail toxic feminine and masculine energies. So in part, I do this so we can recognize them in ourselves and each other and start to honor them in ourselves and each other because they're very beautiful. And one example is the river and the riverbank. The river being the feminine energy that flows and is sculpted by the riverbank and can be big, can be soft. And then the riverbank being what holds this flow. And if I'm going to say the riverbank holds her well, the river, she can flow bigger and more powerfully. And that's just one example. So many of us don't like the traditional gender roles. I don't want to be like my grandmother or my mother who quit working when they had a family. That was never for me. I get that. But to get rid of the masculine feminine relational polarity in the process is like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So I want to keep the masculine feminine polarity. To me, that's exciting, that's juicy, that's alive. The gender roles, maybe they're up for question. So the energy, for example, of protecting and providing, that's a masculine energy. And historically, we've translated that to got to make a lot of money, got to have big muscles, right? It can also, protecting and providing can look like protecting and providing one's loved ones or family in other ways. The feminine energy, which is infinitely creative, traditionally that goes into making babies. However, that could also go into a business or some other kind of creative project. And it's very feminine. So you can also do child rearing from a protecting and providing standpoint. So these are qualities. My belief is that we all have the divine feminine and the divine masculine within us. And yet for most of us, there are certain qualities that are stronger or less developed, but they're there somewhere. So in certain moments, we might need, let's say, if I prefer, I'm mainly in my feminine, I might prefer to have my masculine active for certain things, and that's great. So back to the topic, what distinguishes the art of love from the art of manipulation? And to cut to the chase, my sense of this is if we're coming from giving versus taking, that's the difference. If we're coming from knowing our wholeness within and giving generously of the gifts we have to give that are within us, and we don't think there's something outside of us that we don't have that we have to grasp for or get from somebody and take, that's a healthy art of love. And you can be really in a very strong, polarized dance with someone and be in your wholeness and be in generosity about it and be in giving rather than in taking. So that to me is the difference. When you are whole inside, you can also then start to help other people, not because we're responsible for other people, but the art of love is that if you're stuck, I can, help you out of it. And if I'm stuck, you can help me out of it. And how do we do that? So I have a little story in my book. There was a former partner of mine. He would get bossy sometimes. He would get domineering. And, rather than fight and argue and get into a power struggle or run away or just submit and do what he wanted, one day I decided to get playful. And I said, is there anything else you'd like, my lord? And he stopped and he smiled, and then it was over. The whole thing was over because I was in my divine feminine art of playfulness, calling out where his masculine was a little off. And so when we're secure inside, when we are in a giving place, and we have to also just basics, take good care of ourselves, get enough sleep, make sure you rest, meditate, learn how to center so that these things don't throw you off. And in the art of Aikido, in the martial art of Aikido, we call this getting off the line. So the line being the line of attack. So if somebody punches you, and the punch, I made a previous video about this, the punch might represent anger, attack, or it might represent intimacy, some big energy, something, coming at you. If you run away or fight, you're not doing the art of love. You're just getting stuck. You're making everybody feel worse, even if you're defending yourself. Versus if you can go, oh, you're punching me, huh? I wonder why you're punching me, and turn and you get out of the way, and then you see what they're seeing, and maybe you redirect that energy and you send them off in a different direction. Okay, that's the art of love. So this is, to me, how we heal these collective wounds, by learning this art. By contrast, if a woman is stuck in a mood, and if her natural feminine tendency to be emotional had gone into a toxic, swampy direction, the man could pick her up and throw her in a lake. I read that there's a spiritual teacher who's like, yeah, if she's moody on her period, throw her in a lake. That's kind of fun. If you have that kind of dynamic established, don't go throw a stranger in the lake because she's moody, okay? If you have that established, throw her on the bed, throw her where she would want to be thrown, or somehow for the masculine, jolt her into awakeness, jolt her into getting out of her mood in a giving, loving way where you're feeling her, not where you're dominating, but being bold, right? The divine feminine leads from feeling, and the divine masculine leads with action. The divine masculine is bold, is strong, and currently this is not popular, even when it's clean and healthy. There are some women and some men too that hate that masculine energy, even when it's clean and healthy, and I think this is up for review. And this only works, this boldness, as I said, when the masculine is coming from service, when he's feeling the woman, when he's feeling her needs, when he is being respectful, and he knows her enough to know she would want this would serve her. So he has to have enough of his inner feminine switched on to be able to do this. Otherwise, this divine masculine art, it's not an art, it can be that manipulation. So there's this distinction. And it comes back again to wholeness. So it's not about flattening it all out, making it dull and boring like robots. The other side of this, where it would go south, is let's say there's a man who doesn't feel the woman. He's not in tune. And this is the man society hasn't liked lately. So I get it, because it can be really hurtful. So if this man is callous, if he's selfish, and I'm not saying we should cater to this if it comes our way. So when this happens, our divine feminine, the healthy response is to show the man, no, this is not okay. So that's the healthy feminine leading from her feelings, leading from her responsiveness, which is a divine quality. I had a story about this one in my book as well. So just by contrast, I had a guy, I was in a group setting in a group of friends. He was a new guy in the group. And I mentioned at one point that I was tactile, I'm very sensory. So he heard that and then somehow decided in his mind that meant I would want him to touch me every time he walked by. Or, so starting that night, every time he got near me, he touched me. And I was like, I didn't want that. I barely know you. I didn't give you any invitation for that. And so it got to the point where I was staging myself across the room. And I was like, this is a lot of work. I think I need to speak up. So then at some point I did speak up. I said, hey, I don't think you mean this, but this is what this feels like. You're coming at me and I'm not inviting you and it's not working for me. And so I did have to speak up because, and he meant well. He wasn't a bad guy, but he wasn't sensing me. So that's where the divine, or I don't want to say divine, that's where the masculine energy goes south. And we do see a lot of that too. So besides these little stories, how do you change from living in a transactional or manipulative way into living in this artful way? It does take a lot of practice, but the quick answer is to find your security within. So if you have been someone who might think, I need somebody else to give me what I want, do whatever you can to heal the places within you that feel unloved, that feel unworthy, or where you feel like you don't have what you need. And at the same time, if you're on the other side, many of us have been on both sides and we attract people that match us, right? So you can't just blame that person. But if you've been in situations where you were giving, you were generous, and your energy wasn't met, you didn't feel there was a reciprocal exchange, you felt used, you felt taken advantage of, etc., then don't stay in those situations. Again, easy for me to say, it's sometimes hard to do for the ones who are in it, but that's my quick answer. Okay, if you want to get out of being transactional or manipulative or in those types of dynamics. And then if you want to go from being asleep, being apathetic, being neutral, feeling like life is flat, into embracing this art of love, what do you do? So this is something where you don't need a partner to practice this. If you want to bring in more of your feminine capacities, the answer is to get more in touch with your feelings and your body. So a simple way to do that, I give this to a lot of my private clients, is just turn on a song you like and dance for 3 or 4 minutes. Close the door, nobody has to see, doesn't have to look like anything, but move your body in a way which is fluid. So you're in your responsive, flowing, fluid, creative self and you're feeling your body. That's one quick way. There's many ways. If you're somebody like me who likes to make a lot of lists and get stuff done, you might need to burn some of your lists. So, you might need some lists, but also practice being in flow. Practice I'm going to go where my intuition leads me today. Or for this morning, maybe I won't look at my list and maybe I'm just, I feel like I should call that person, but I'm not feeling that right now. So that's practicing the divine feminine. And for the masculine, this can also mean getting into places where you're alone and with yourself and kind of the sober, alone, present space, which is very masculine, or spend time with other men. Practice things that allow you to drive and to achieve, even if it's the golf ball or a project at your house. Don't be afraid to make decisions and take a stand, especially when you know you're in service and when you know you're respecting others. So the healthy masculine will speak up, he will initiate, he will lead the way. I've encountered, in recent years, men that apologize for being this way, and it's a turnoff, to be honest, because I want a man, I want to, whether it's a lover or a friend or just to see this in the world, I like seeing when the man or masculine energy trusts himself to sense energy, when he trusts himself to lead and speak up. That is needed, in my opinion, in this world. So I hope this was helpful. If you'd like more, check out the books, check out private sessions and the other resources at AnnO'BrienLiving.com. I will also be offering a Conscious Love workshop coming up September 15th in Sunrise, Florida, which is near Fort Lauderdale. I will also be in Santa Barbara offering this Conscious Love workshop October 15th, and lots more events and things on my website, AnnO'BrienLiving.com. Thank you so much for checking this out. If you enjoyed this video, please follow, like, or share. Share it with those who could use it. And I'm wishing you so much love and well-being.